The Hipster Texas high school football games. There are the big games, the really big games.
Right.
San Angelo Central and Midland is a massive game.
Right.
Okay?
Right.
I would even say Aledo and Justin Northwest, massive game. A-Leaf Taylor and Pearland Dawson. College Station and Temple, massive games.
Agreed.
I think there are a lot of, but we've mentioned this before. This is a huge week for Texas high school football.
Right.
A massive Week 10 slate. So there are a lot of really good games that I think are flying under the radar that people may not know about. Let's start out west. We call this the El Paso area, but only because we can't really, it's not near anything else.
Right.
Like, if go Google where Clint, Texas is.
Yeah.
Okay? You're going to find that
we're lumping them in.
We're lumping them in.
Yeah.
But Clint, believe it or not, is 8-0. They are unbeaten, kind of quietly unbeaten, and they are taking on, for the District 2-4A Division I title, Andrews. They're taking on Andrews, the Mustangs. And what I love about this game is the contrast. So Andrews, we've talked about before. Andrews has Tristan Williams, their quarterback, Keegan Thompson, kind of the do-it-all athlete, and just a huge offense. This is the team that put up that got into a showdown with Level and hung 77. 77-76, they beat them. This is a team that can score in bunches. On the other side, Clint is, and they do it mostly through the air. I should mention that. Andrews throws the ball a lot. Clint is almost the exact opposite, okay? They play great defense. Eric Sanchez already has 5 interceptions on the year. Their linebacker, Victor Vargas, has been very good as well. And the offense runs for almost 400 yards a game.
Oh, is that all?
Yeah, actually, I think over 400 yards a game.
Jeez.
Marco Martinez and Sebastian Barraza are the headliners on this ground and pound attack. And so this is such a clash in styles and clash in what these teams want to do. Andrews wants to get the ball and score in 10 seconds. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Clint wants to have the ball of the 48 minutes of this game, they would love to have it for 47. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
This is a really, really fascinating game in that regard. I think Andrews is probably your favorite here, but I do think that, because I think that Andrews has been tested a little bit more, but I do think that Clint's defense is got them flying under the radar. So that's a big game on my radar, is Clint and Andrews.
In games like this, I always favor the team with the quick scoring offense, because if they get in a hole, they can get out of it.
They can dig out of it,
right.
exactly.
It's just that little edge.
Exactly. Like, let's say the score after one, something goes AWOL, and the score is 21-0. Okay?
Sure.
In either direction.
Right.
You know? If you're Andrews and you're down 21-0, you go, well, this is not ideal, but we can do this.
Right.
If you're Clint and you're down 21-0, you're going, this is bad news. So very interested to see who comes out in Clint and Andrews. In the Golden Triangle, I understand that it's hard to call a team that's ranked number 1 in our rankings under the radar.
Yeah.
But you don't buy this one?
I'm not buying this one at all, man. I'm sorry.
You're not buying Liberty? West Orange Stark and Liberty will do battle.
There is a difference between buying Liberty and buying Liberty against a godless killing machine like West Orange Stark.
Now, look, we've talked a lot about West Orange Stark, so let me talk about Liberty for a second. They've already doubled last year's win total, okay? Yeah. They've won just 4 games last year. The defense, I think, is very solid, and it can give the West Orange Stark attack a little bit of trouble. Right. Tyrus Williams, Alex Brown, they've got this great wing T attack that sometimes can be very hard to game plan for.
Absolutely, it is difficult to game plan for.
Difficult to game plan for. Yeah. I think, and they're 8-1. Okay,
right.
So they've earned this record.
Sure.
Now they are going up against, in my view, the best team in the state in 4A Division II.
Yeah.
And I am more so interested. I think West Orange Sharks are going to win.
Yes.
I am more so interested in seeing if they can get a game. Because to me, we talked about it on yesterday's show about how West Orange Shark is beating teams by an average of 50 points.
This is something we were talking about, and to sort of further build on that point, of all the teams playing this year, has any team been as dominant?
No.
I mean, maybe Refugio?
Refugio's,
as far as favorites?
Yeah, but Refugio's a loss.
Well,
now, granted, that's over
right.
against a 4A team in Geronimo Navarro.
Twice as big as them.
But I think you're right. Like last year, we had this conversation about who the most dominant pound-for-pound team in the state was. And it came down to 2 options. It came down to Katy or Canadian.
Right.
And I think that we've talked about, I think there's a reasonable argument for both of them.
Right.
Okay? For Right now, it could be West Orange Stark.
Right. I mean, I think they are approaching that territory. If they run through the postseason, the way that they've run through the regular season, they've got to be in the argument. I mean, so far, their defense is on pace with Katie's.
No, certainly.
Yeah.
I mean, that's definitely in the realm of possibility. But I do want to point out that I think that maybe this is counterintuitive, but I think that it could do West Orange Stark some good to play a close game.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like the closest game they've played is 45-21 when they beat Kennedale at a neutral site.
Right.
And that's a Kennedale team that's been up
Is
and
that
down.
wing tee or slot tee that they run?
That's
It's one of the
slot tee,
Is
I
it
believe.
Either way,
they've
assignment football, and
exactly.
they showed that they could do it. But that's the most points that they've given up, so that's some hope for Liberty.
And if you really want to get a little bit, if you want to start poking holes in the West Orange Stark argument, I know. All I am saying is that to date, they have played teams that are a combined 27 and 31. Okay?
Yeah.
I'm just saying
Yeah.
they haven't played the Murderers Row.
Sure.
So, now, again, this is all of me saying I think West Orange Stark's the best team in 6A
But
or
if you're
in 4A
trying to
Division 2.
find a hole,
Then
get
I
it.
think Liberty
get it.
could give them a run. I think that Liberty will be probably the second best team they've seen so far this year, maybe third behind
Yeah,
Bridge
and like
City.
I said, it's not that I'm not buying Liberty. It's just I think West Orange Stark is that much better.
I don't disagree with anything. I'm just interested in this game.
You disagree.
I don't disagree. Okay, moving on. Sweetwater and Monahans. Sweetwater may be the we talk about quiet, undefeated teams. Sweetwater's just cruising right under that radar. Another 4A Division 2 game. They're going to take on Monahans, and the question for me is we're going to find out just how much being tested matters. Because, frankly, I don't think Sweetwater's been tested.
Yeah.
Sweetwater has played, let's see, I'm going to pull this up.
It's tough out west.
Sweetwater's played Big Spring, who's 0-8. We thought that was going to be a big game. Yeah. They've beaten, in fact, basically their win last week over Seminole is their best win to date.
Yeah.
Their opponents so far are, 16 and 47.
Not great.
Not good. They've beaten a lot of bad teams,
Yeah.
but they've done it convincingly.
Yeah.
They've done it convincingly, and Chris Thompson and their quarterback and running back Jacoby Hunt have this team humming, scoring 38 or 54 points a game. Now they're taking on a Monahans team that is decidedly tested. Okay, they've got a win over Wall.
Yep.
One of their losses is to Canyon, who's a good 5A team.
Yep.
The other of their losses is to Andrews, who's a good 4A team by 3 points.
Yep.
They've beaten Seminole. They've beaten Midland Greenwood. They've run through the tougher teams in that district that isn't Sweetwater. Mm-hmm. So I think this is a huge test for Sweetwater. I'm interested to see what Monahans has this week. They've had this kind of up and down year so far.
Yep.
I'm interested in Monahans and Sweetwater. Odom and Hebronville. All right. So
We talk about Odom a lot.
We do talk about Odom a fair bit. And I think for good reason.
A lot of fun, man.
We really like Michael Everett, their quarterback, and we really like the way this offense hums. And their one loss on the year, who'd they lose to?
George West.
George West,
Yes.
who has a great defense.
Yeah.
That is something that we've been paying a lot of attention to.
Mm-hmm.
Hebronville's kind of flown under the radar a little bit as well. Their losses this year. Get this. Their losses this year are to Refugio and George West.
Yeah.
Those are two pretty good losses. They do want to keep the game close. I think that this is the kind of game where if there's going to be a blowout, we know which way it's going to go.
Right.
Odom would blow out Hebronville.
Right.
But I do think that Hebronville can hang, and if they can just hang in this game for long enough, maybe they can up and grab this this critical game in District 16 3A Division 2. And finally, up north in Munster, Texas, the Cheeses. They're taking on. We've talked a little bit about Munster. We like this Munster team, but I don't know if anybody's really paying attention to what Santo is doing. And I understand Santo is not exactly the kind of team that springs to mind when you think of Texas high school football powers.
Sure, and two-loss teams don't usually jump out at you.
Exactly. But I think this team is actually pretty good because of their defense. If you look at their losses are a 9-0 loss to De Leon and that's it. They've only got one loss? Yeah, I guess that's right. They've only got one loss. Okay. So, for me, that's what, they've already beaten Lindsay. They beat Lindsay by 1 point. They play a lot of close games.
Yeah.
And so if they can keep this game close against Munster, then I think they've got a great shot at it. Now, Munster is going to come to play. Munster's got that big offense. They've got the fantastic quarterback, Jones, Blaine Jones. Yeah. Blaine Jones, they run the ball well with their sophomore running back, Parker McGrew. I like this Munster team. I think they win this game. But if Santo, this would be a real feather in the cap for Santo, and I think that they're waiting for a chance to hop onto the statewide radar. So those are the 5 games that I've got my eye on as far as flying under the radar. You can check out TexasFootball.com/preview for our complete Week 10 preview.